All right, coaches, let's get started here, and we're gonna we're gonna dive right in. But I like to cover a couple things up front just to make sure you all have a good experience. And the first thing I always ask is can you hear me now? And I don't just ask you that. I put it on a slide because, well, if you couldn't hear me, you wouldn't hear me say it. So I like to stop here just for a few minutes and see if coaches are having any problems hearing me, and if you are, um, you'll type something there, and I'll just put a reminder to refresh your screen if anything goes sideways there. All right, well, let's move on. It looks like at least a few coaches can hear me, and that's usually a sign that things are working fine from my end. So first, let's check in and see if you're in the right place. So this clinic is for you if you're a football coach and probably a youth coach, but the things I'm talking about here are they would apply to just about any level, although I tend to simplify things a bit. And to be honest, in an hour clinic, we can only go so deep into some of these topics. But we're going to talk about the pistol version of the wing tee, and I'm much more an expert with the traditional under center wing tee. I've been doing that for about 10 years, and I've run some pistol, and I plan to run some more this year. And there are a lot of coaches out there that know a lot more about pistol wing tee, but sometimes it can be helpful to have a dialogue with somebody who's just a little bit further along than you are, maybe, and maybe more towards that beginner end, because there's some great things about it and some reasons why you might not want to do it. And I think I can share some of the pros and cons. So let's start. If you haven't already, introduce yourself in the chat window. It's kind of helpful for everybody, including me, to see where people are from and what level you coach at. You never know, you might make a new connection. And feel free to use that chat window to bring up questions. Some things I might address right away during the clinic. Others I will try to grab and address at the end. If it's maybe a little bit off subject, or if honestly, if I miss it, because I kind of fly solo with these things, so I don't always catch everything right when it comes up. But I'll do my best to track those as they come along. All right. Well, why should you run the pistol wing tee? And I'm going to say in contrast to just under center wing tee, because I think everybody should run the wing tee, and that's sort of an inside joke. But I love the wing tee. I'm a big fan of it. I think it's a great offense for youth football. But I realize there are other offenses out there. But I'm really comparing in this case to a traditional kind of Delaware style under center wing tee. And there are some reasons to consider this. One is the quarterback ends up in a pretty good position to open up the passing game. And that's mainly because you're kind of naturally in a position of a traditional three-step drop with a little more visibility downfield, and for especially quarterbacks that aren't as tall, they're in a position where they might be able to read the defense and understand alignment, secondary, and just be in a better position right out of the gate to throw the ball. I think it opens up some of the quick screen and slant game a little better. And some of that's just because of the depth of the quarterback. And for a screen game, for example, you don't need to worry about backpedaling. You don't need to worry about a backwards pass nearly as much as you would under center. And it can open up kind of that quick passing game, which I really like in youth football. The fewer choices my quarterback has to make when I'm throwing the ball, the better off we're going to be. And then if you want to move on to, either running even a run-based option game or package plays, also known as run-pass options, you think about the pre-snap and post-snap reads that a quarterback needs to make with those with a little bit of depth, with those eyes able to scan, I think it's easier to see the defense. And with all this, you don't really give up many of the wing T benefits, but there are some. And the main one, when you look at this and you say, does this all come for free? I do think there's a cost. If pistol was just better and it makes the wing T, just as good as it always is, but makes passing better, then why wouldn't everybody just always run pistol wing T? And I know there's some coaches I know who say, yes, exactly. Why wouldn't you just run pistol? Because it is better. And I think single wing coaches who kind of naturally have that short snap and even options to snap to multiple backs would say, yeah, you should always do that. But one of the things about the under center wing T that's hard to do without is the deception that you get from that quarterback reverse pivoting from that proximity to the center and getting his back to the line of scrimmage. And as you get more advanced and you understand the wing T and you try to, my other job besides coaching offensive line is I'm a defensive coordinator, and it's hard to get a defense to read a well-run wing T team. And if you start trying to key backfield or find the ball, it's going to be a losing proposition. And one of the benefits of staying under center is it's so much easier to hide that ball. When you're under pistol or shotgun, that ball tends to be facing the defense a lot more, and you can still do a lot of deception. You can run jet and rocket, and you can run buck sweep, but you're trading off some of that hidden ball and the fakes that come along with that when you go with pistol. So what is pistol for me? And most of the pistol scheming that I learned was from Coach Erdley, who was the offensive coordinator for many years at Carnegie Mellon University, and I've been lucky enough to interact with him a few times. I have a son going to college there, not playing football, but he goes there, and when I visit, I've been able to meet with him. He's not coaching there anymore, but about 3.5 years ago, he did a really long download with me on everything he does with wing T and pistol, and shared all his materials. So a lot of what you're going to see in terms of how I approached my primary series and some of the passing game was greatly simplified version of some of the guidance I got from Rich Erdley at Carnegie Mellon. So I line up with the quarterback 4 yards behind the center. Some like to bring him a little closer. I think 3 yards is fine. And the fullback about 2 yards behind the quarterback. And I think you can be successful bringing that fullback even up a little bit closer. Some, for example, like to keep almost the same traditional fullback depth, and will go with a 3 yard depth for the quarterback and 1 yard depth behind the fullback. Hold on one second. I like to keep a little more space between the quarterback and fullback, and that's partly because of the rocket sweep, and that being the primary series that I like running out of pistol. I like a little more space for that wingback or halfback to fly through when they're running in that rocket motion. But you have a little bit of room to play with there. In terms of formations, you have pretty much the same flexibility you have under wing T, and I see some coaches like to go even a little further. This is a formation that I would call pistol rose, and rose is a double wing set and keeping the tight end in. So you're basically moving that traditional weak side or split end side halfback out into a wing position. And we ran our pistol out of this, as well as more commonly a spread formation where we wouldn't necessarily do a personnel change and bring in 2 wide receivers. But I mean, with youth football, you don't really often have that kind of a personnel option. We would just split our tight end out into a split end or wide receiver position. So you end up with a very balanced look with 2 split end receivers and the 2 halfbacks in the wing position. And I really like this because it gives a balanced look to the defense. And when I explain the series that I like to run, I love running wing T series that do really well running to the split end side. And with this formation, I can run right or left without any changes in formation. So my terminology for this would just be pistol spread. And you can obviously tweak with this even a little bit more. This isn't necessarily to scale, but you can start to play with those wing back positioning and even move towards a slot, a full, double slot spread type formation if you're going to open up the passing game more. And you can still do some things like jet and other things to try to spread the field out without giving up some of the some of the formation goodness. I do notice a couple questions coming up. Like, do you think this works with 9-year-olds? I'll add that to the queue of things to look at the end. So just sit by with that. All right, well, let's move on. Let's start with the center quarterback exchange. And if you've spent a good part of your career coaching under center, you might think that this is something that's going to be a little more challenging or something to work on a lot. And my experience is that this snap is almost easier than going under center. And I'll give you a few tips here. And this is something you might need to vary depending on the age of the player. And this might be one of the limitations with some of the smaller players where you have to shift and adjust just a little bit in terms of how you hold the ball. But, I coach 8th grade or, about 13, 14-year-old kids now. And my center is usually going to have a hand that's big enough to do things the way I really want. So what we like to teach is, we grip at the tip of the ball with a straight arm. The image on the right, that's how I'd like the center to grip the ball with a right-handed quarterback. So we're going to turn those laces straight to the right, holding on the tip of the ball. We're gonna strive for a knuckleball snap. We don't need a spin. We don't want any end over end rotation, and it's going to be basically a stiff wrist and arm with a really simple release right at the back of the knees. So it's just front to back without any snap, no flex of the wrist. We want a knuckleball, and we want just basically a line drive right to the quarterback's hands. And at a 3 or 4 yard depth, it's really easy to do. Just a little bit of prep, and watching that center and making sure that he's not trying to finesse it with his wrist. You'll get that down pretty quickly. If you've got a center with smaller hands, you may need to use the laces to help kind of grip the ball and keep it straight. So you may want to simplify it and just put those laces straight down the middle finger. All right, so let's dive into some of the plays, and there are more series that I would cover if we had 2 hours, but I'd rather go a little bit deeper into a couple series. And another point I want to make is it would be great if this web clinic technology that I use did a great job of showing live video. Unfortunately, it tends to create more problems than it solves. So what you're going to see about a half hour after this clinic ends, you'll get an email from me with links, and it'll be links to cut-ups of everything that you see that I cover in this clinic, along with some voiceover that will help explain what you're seeing. So we're going to cover the Rocket series and the passing game in some depth here. And just to stress again, my focus is youth. running wing T as a base. So even though this opens up more of the passing game, we still keep it very simple. Why do we keep it simple? Because I don't have the practice time to do anything but that. We get about 3 weeks of 10 hours a week before season. And then once we're in season, we've got 6 hours, and you divvy up your time. And that means you probably have about an hour max to work on passing game. So we keep things pretty simple. We don't ask a lot of our quarterbacks, but we've got some good things here to share that I think are pretty easy reads for the quarterback and easy protections for the line. All right, so what is the Rocket Series? There's 3 base run plays and an optional 4th play, which is a run pass option. So the base play is the Rocket Sweep. This is a wide flowing toss sweep to the wing back. So unlike Buck Sweep, where it's almost an off tackle play, we run this Rocket Sweep to the numbers. We want to run this wide, and that's how we block it. We have a counter play, which I call it Rocket Counter, but other coaches might call it a tackle trap. This is a great play, and it's the kind of play, if you get that Rocket Sweep going, this counter play, you might get 6 yards on the sweep, maybe 10 yards, and then you run this counter and you'll score a touchdown. Because you start getting fast linebacker flow, you get the safety starting to mirror that rocket motion, and you get that backside of the field wide open for the counter. I like to have in every series a way to run to any back. So we run the trap, which is just a guard trap to the fullback. It's blocked pretty much identically to the classic wing T Buck Series trap, although it's a little, whenever you're going to run out of pistol, it's a little bit harder, I think, for this play to be really successful. But if you've been able to vacate the secondary and the linebacker zone a little bit with Rocket, then this can still be successful. And I say it's a little harder just because it doesn't hit quite as fast as a traditional wing T trap will. And we're always going to put that quarterback into a boot after those 3 running plays, and showing the boot, run and pass option. And if you've got the time and you want to put it in, you can actually design that in as a play as well. But we're not going to cover that in this clinic. So Rocket Sweep first. This is how we block it, and there are some options to blocking this a little bit differently that I'll cover here in a little bit. But let's talk about some key teaching points on this, because there's some subtlety to it that I think is important to get right, and that we struggled with a little bit with our team. So let's talk about the right way to toss this, where he's going to catch the ball, and kind of what that flow is going to be. So we're gonna put this back in its full speed, rocket motion. So it's basically the same speed that you would try to get if you were going to run jet motion, except instead of running flat, he's running with a slight arc, aiming right toward the toes of that fullback. But he's going to flatten out as he gets between the quarterback and fullback, which is about when the snap's going to be coming. He gets flat there, and we really don't want him any deeper than about 4 to 5 yards. So as he passes that quarterback, he's stopping his arc, and he's getting flat, and he's going to turn, in this case, he's going to turn and look over his left shoulder right as he's approaching that right tackle, because he's going to expect that toss as he's getting to C gap or even a little bit wider. So we want that quarterback to catch the snap, and he's going to reverse pivot out, in this case on his right foot, and toss a flat and fast toss to that wing back and hit him wide. It's almost like a short pass. And how do you get this right? Well, you practice it over and over and over again. And it's a great conditioning drill for your backs. So I would, if you're doing conditioning time, you can do some different things with your line, but get all your running backs working this flow, running over and over again, and just get this toss perfected. Again, the toss is going to be almost a knuckleball, low and flat, and right to the kind of the chest to waist of that halfback as he's coming through. All right, let me just catch up with my notes here. All right, so that's the way we want the toss to come. How do you block this, and what are some choices we have around that? We're generally going to use play side reach blocking, and it's going to look like basically a zone, in this case a zone step to the right, and we're trying to reach. And in the case of the play side guard, he's going to pull wide and log because we're trying to create a wide stretch running path for that running back. You have some choices with how you're going to block the backside, and it's going to depend on your ability to get that ball out wide. And this is one reason why we want to get that toss out to C gap. Similar to how I block a jet sweep, my view is that if I'm running everything right in the backfield, there's no way anybody from play side A gap and even B gap and in is going to be able to make a play on that running back. So that center through the left tackle, we're going to take a zone or reach step to the right, but they're going to rip through anybody on the line and work to secondary, work to that second level. So they're going to try to get on a backer, and if they don't find anybody there, they can just kind of keep going downfield and even work towards the safety. So they're not even going to think about blocking a defensive lineman or anybody trying to chase that from the backside. The play side guard is going to pull, and he's going to work to block the first guy outside of that right halfback's block. And the job of the right halfback is to block the first guy he finds outside of the right tackle's reach block. So you can kind of see how that works. Right tackle to right half, or wing back to the right guard. Now here's where you got a choice. The receiver, I had that receiver blocked directly on the cornerback who's covering him. Instead, you can have the receiver block and crack in on the first guy outside of that halfback, and have that guard basically block the next guy outside, which is often going to be the cornerback. In many cases, against a lot of teams that I see in youth football, that cornerback is not going to have a very good shot at making a tackle one-on-one against what's probably going to be one of my best 2 or 3 running backs. So you can block that a few ways. You can crack with the receiver. You can pull the guard out. You could even do an exchange and have the right half block out on the corner and the receiver crack in, and just feel free to play with that. You've got a lot of choices there, but the goal here is to make sure you at least cut off that defensive end and or outside linebacker that are play side, because those are usually going to be the best players on play side. All right, so if you have questions on that, go ahead and ask them, and I'll make sure we get to those at the end. And like I said, you'll see some cut-ups coming in your email here at the end of the clinic. All right, the counter. This counter play is blocked just like you might run if you run the weak side belly play and you run a tackle trap off that. This is pretty much going to be blocked exactly the same way, with a small change up with how you might use the fullback. So here's what we do. We run that. We're still running that full flow rocket motion with that left halfback, and we're going to have that quarterback spin just like he's going to toss, but he's going to complete that spin all the way around to an inside handoff to that halfback that's coming around on the counter. And you can time this a few different ways. We didn't have that. The ball carrier, so in this case, the right halfback, we didn't have him delay or anything, and we kept him in fairly tight, about 3 yards off the tackle, 1 yard deep. And so that spin, it was almost a bang bang. You know, the quarterback catches the snap, he's spinning all the way around, and he's handing that ball off immediately. If you want to give a better rocket sweep fake, you can play with either the spacing or the speed of that counterback to give yourself time to fake the pitch and still come back on the counter. Partly because that trap block, because it comes pretty quickly, we wanted that to hit a little bit faster, and there was enough deception just from the rocket flow and the quarterback spinning that we wanted that to hit pretty quickly, and that full flow from the motion was good enough. So the rules are really simple for the line. Everybody but the right tackler just blocking down to the right, so you can use your traditional kind of gap down backer rules for the rest of the line. And we're going to have the fullback because he needs to allow that rocket back to clear in front of him. We had to adjust that timing a little bit. And what we found worked was that fullback taking just one crossover step to the side, almost like he would do when he's going to run the belly play, just a crossover back to the left, and then he's going to take the kick out. So he's going to kick out the first man he finds outside that left tackle, and the right tackle is going to pull and lead. And that lead is going to be tight. It's going to be from A gap to B gap, kind of right over that left guard. So it's almost like a tight cross block trap, but he does have to get over those other three linemen. He's not going to really get any depth. He's going to scrape paint and lead right over that center guard. All right, let me check my notes if there's anything else I want to cover on that. And again, the simplest way to deal with that right halfback being too quick for that counter handoff is just split him out a little bit wider. You can just play with genetics on that, but you still want him to hit it fast. All right, let's look at the rocket trap. Like I said before, we're going to block this identically, except you're not going to have a tight end, but there are a lot of coaches that will still run trap to the split end side. So this is a trap right, and that fullback, the arrows don't show it probably as effectively as it could, but that fullback is going to be on midline or a little bit left of midline, just like he would on a Buck series trap when he's going to the right. So he's going to be going left of the quarterback, and that quarterback, instead of spinning all the way around like he does on the counter, is still going to catch the snap and pivot out on that right foot. But as he's pivoting, like he's faking the toss, he's giving the ball to that fullback with his right hand, and he can just carry out the fake toss and still finish the boot. And obviously you want that left halfback completing that fake, pretending that he catches the ball and just, rocking the baby and running out to the numbers, because I guarantee if that rocket's working, he's going to pull linebacker and maybe the safety. So that fullback he's going to be downhill fast, right on or just left to midline, and he's going to follow that trap block from the left guard. So there you've got three running plays in the series: the rocket sweep, the counter, and your trap play that lets you get to any of your backs. And without, especially if you're running other plays in traditional wing T series, there's probably not a lot of new work you need to do with the offensive line to make this work. Some coaches who block the jet sweep play very similar to how. Like I said before, I'm not going to show the boot. I would probably run the boot just like I would the Buck series boot, and you could pull one or both of the guards for protection, and then he's going to be reading that receiver. Some series that I'm not going to cover in this clinic but kind of in order of my experience and preference that I think complement the pistol formation really well. I think the first thing I would install in addition to rocket would be the belly iso play, the weak side belly play. So this is a fullback play that is almost like a sprint draw type play with a lead from the play side wing back and either an on block or cross block from the guard and tackle. And what I love about this formation is that you can run this play to either side, and you can still run that the iso belly sweep and the keep pass off that, and you really don't need it to look any different than it does under center. This is one of the wing T plays where you don't rely on the same ball hiding and reverse pivot that you see like with Buck series. And so you get a lot of the same fake benefits that you get from the belly fake and riding that, whether you're in pistol. And to be honest, if you look at a weak side belly and belly sweep play from pistol, it actually looks a lot like a spread read option type play. Most coaches aren't going to call this play as an option, but it looks like that, and it gives a lot of visibility to both the quarterback and the running back. I'm not going to get into options from the pistol, but if I were going to install a single run pass option play with the pistol, it would be with the belly and the belly keep pass. And the main reason being is that I think the quarterback is in such a good position to do a pre-snap and post-snap read based on what he's seeing. Primarily, I think with that defensive end or outside linebacker is kind of being a key read key on that play. He's in just such a good position in that pistol formation to read that, both that outside linebacker and potentially the positioning of the cornerback, and decide to keep the ball and throw it, or maybe an arrow route to the wing. Down play works if you're going to run pistol with the tight end staying in. Some coaches are going to want to stick to spread when they're with the pistol, and I don't. Down is, I think if you're going to run with a spread, you're running belly. You're not going to run the down play without the tight end. I would say you're probably better off if you want something that's going to maybe bring a little more to the point of attack. You might want to think about a power type play and think about comboing the fullback and backside guard on a power play if you want a different look. I did run some down. And I'll talk about the book I just released, and if you want to see more about that and see some cut ups, I do have them there, but we don't have time to get into it in this clinic. I don't think, and this is where there's going to be some differences of opinion. I'm not a big fan of the Buck series from this formation, and that's partly because I'm kind of a traditionalist and I like the reverse pivot and ball hiding and kind of how all that meshes together when you're running Buck. That said, I know a lot of coaches who run shotgun, wing T, who run pistol that love Buck. And you go on Saturday afternoon and watch Auburn or Ohio State, and you will see those teams running Buck sweep from a shotgun spread from time to time. So I'm not saying it can't work. It's just not my favorite. I'll typically go back under center if I want to run this series. As I said before, I think you can run power. And again, if I were running pistol and doing Buck series, I would keep it fairly traditional, and the sweep play would be to the wingback or the halfback with the trap going to the fullback. If you were going to go shotgun and take it back out of the field and go with two running back personnel, then you might actually use the quarterback as the running back. That's beyond the scope of this talk, and And I am the last person to talk about that because I've never run a pure shotgun type wing tee. And I know there's probably coaches on this this chat that have done that could speak more intelligently about it. All right, let's get into the passing game here. And we're gonna start with screen passing game. And this was one of the reasons I wanted to incorporate pistol concepts, because we wanted a quick screen. And we, as a youth coach, I think in my early years coaching, wide receiver was a position where we often hid some minimum play players. And we've tried to be more thoughtful the last few seasons of getting our receivers more incorporated and actually looking for more strength at that position, and finding other ways to incorporate minimum play players into the backfield and into the offensive line, and really making sure we come out with 11 players. And so if you're going to incorporate the receiver, it means you're going to throw the ball more. And one of the highest percentage plays I think you can throw to a receiver is this quick screen. And I think it's really easy to run this quick screen from pistol, and it doesn't have some of the trade-offs that you might have under center. I'll also talk about a slow screen option to the fullback, which is fun if you can get it to work, but it takes a lot of practice time. And I'll tell you that we had a hard time getting this in. We actually did this install over the period of a week and a half after running the kind of classic wing tee for about 5 games. And so we had limited time. We were putting all this in, and this play just didn't quite make the cut for us to run in the game. But I know how we installed it, and I know how we practiced it. And I think if we'd maybe give it another week or two, it could have been a killer play for us. All right, so let's talk about the quick screen. So this is a quick screen you can run it to either side. My advice is to run it to the side opposite the throwing arm of the quarterback, just to make it really easy to make the turn and throw. And the rule for the quarterback is really simple. Catch the ball and throw the ball. There's no delay. It's a grip and rip type throw. And he doesn't need to think at all, because his job is to throw it right to where the receiver is pre-snap. The receiver's job is to take 1 or 2 steps downfield, like he's breaking on a straight vertical route, and then to immediately turn back to get right to where he started, or just a little bit inside of there. Not to come back behind the line of scrimmage, but get right back to where he started, and then to turn inside back towards the middle of the field for a few steps. The blocking on this is pretty simple, and it was actually fun and a great set of drills and experience for our linemen, because it's the kind of thing that as a wing tee coach, we didn't really practice a lot of run and block, other than some of our backer block drills. And so I'd say our line had some of the most fun preparing for this, with this cage drill that I'll share some video with you as well. So the rules are pretty simple. The wing back or halfback on the play side is going to go out. He's going to block the first guy from the line of scrimmage, and that's almost always going to be the cornerback that was guarding the receiver. So we want him to break like he's going vertical on our wings hot play, which is that's the complement to this, which I'll get into in a little bit. He's going to break vertically, but then immediately turn out and block that corner and just take him right to the sideline. The rule for the rest of the line is they're not delaying at all. So this isn't like a slow delayed screen where they're going to pass set and then release. They release immediately, and they can be downfield, because this is going to be a screen pass that's completed behind the line of scrimmage. And we're going to have that left tackle through the right tackle follow the rule of out, up, and in. And basically what that means is they're looking for first, is there anybody outside of me that isn't blocked yet? If so, I'm going to go block the widest guy that I see. So that left tackle is going to block the next widest guy from that cornerback, who's probably going to be an outside linebacker, or a wide stand-up defensive end. The guard is going to follow the same rule, and eventually everybody's going to be accounted for. And let's say the center sees there's nobody else out wide, or he's going to look upfield and look for somebody, and it's probably going to be a free safety that he's going to go after. And eventually right guard, right tackle, they may be hinging back in and getting linebackers that are coming back across the field. So it's very simple blocking, and it's something that you can drill quite a bit in terms of technique with the cage drill that I mentioned. That receiver, I mentioned that he does, break inside after he catches the ball. And the rule for him is he's just trying to get enough inside to pretty much get inside that block from the left halfback. So he's going to turn back out pretty quickly and get back to the sideline. So it's going to be, step forward, come back, get the ball, turn inside, catch the ball, and there's going to be a tunnel for him to kind of work his way back out to the outside. All right, so let's work on this. Let's talk about the slow screen. And here, this is another complement to our wings hot play, which is going to be the first play we'll cover in our three-step passing. We're trying to show basically that same vertical flow from receiver to the halfbacks to the other receiver. This time we're going to do a pass set, just like we're doing a three-step pass protection. And the wide receiver is going to fake the screen, and he's going to turn in, and he's going to block the first guy he sees inside of that, inside of him. So he's not going to block the cornerback that was going to cover him. He's going to probably block, an outside linebacker or the inside linebacker that was on his side. The fullback is going to set up like he's doing pass protection on the left side, and he's going to count. He's probably going to do, they almost always want to release too fast. So I'll usually say, give yourself 2 1,000, set 1 1,000, 2 1,000, and then he's going to release flat and look over his upfield, or in this case, left shoulder, and look for a quick toss from the quarterback. The quarterback is just going to drop, and he's going to look downfield and look for that fullback to then release and just give him a quick toss, and that fullback is going to follow his lead blocks, which are really going to be from that left tackle and left guard. So that's kind of a classic delay, slow screen to the fullback. And you got to practice this one a little bit more than the quick screen. All right, so if there's any questions about those, go ahead and ask in the chat window, and I'll make sure I get to those by the end. All right, let's get into the three-step passing game, and I call it three-step because it's the quick passing game that's a little slower than the grip and rip, but it doesn't really need to be a three-step, and it kind of depends on the age of the team you're coaching and how much you trust your protection, because a lot of these routes can really be done with just even a 1 or 2 step drop. The great thing about pistol is the quarterback is already sitting at a position that's at about a 3-step drop, and he's going to have a lot of visibility to get the ball out quickly. So we have a set of vertical routes, a slant wheel, a streak out were the routes that we put in that I'm going to talk about. And we did very simple protection schemes on this, kind of a big on big, inside out protection with the fullback usually protecting the backside of the quarterback. So if it's a right-handed quarterback, he's usually going to set up on the left side, but then be alert for any blitzing or any inside penetration, just to give quick protection. And I could tell you, a complex protection scheme and line calls and all that, but like I said before, we really don't have time with all the work we put into our running game to do anything beyond good pass protection, one-on-one drills, combined with a really simple scheme. So I would just think about that, particularly with a youth team, how much you really want to put time into that. And I would focus instead on getting quicker releases from the quarterback with really simple reads. So wings hot is a play that we run under center also, and it works really well from pistol. And we will run it as a 3 vertical route, but you can turn it into a 4 vertical route if you'd like. I like the 3 vertical route because we'll fake that quick screen to the receiver, and it gives a similar look to all 3 of those. If you look at the quick screen, the slow screen, and this play, it has a similar look, and you can start to really mess with the defense if you can execute all 3 of these well. The left half is going to run a straight vertical route, looking over his right shoulder. And then depending on your alignment with the receiver and halfback on the other side, you're probably going to have the right half doing a little bit more of a skinny post and the other receiver doing kind of a fade. We're almost never going to throw to the receiver on this route. Usually what we're going to do if we're faking the screen is we're going to look and do a quick pump like that, that grip and rip fake to the receiver on the left, and that quarterback is going to throw it back to the right halfback on the release. He's probably going to need to do a really quick read because if you're like me, you often will see a cover 3 look because your run game is so successful, and you really just need to look and see where that single free safety went. If you're seeing a lot of cover 2, cover 4, 2 safety shell, I'm probably not going to run a lot of this 3-step passing. I kind of like it when a team, if they're going to go there, I'm probably going to go back and start running, my belly ISO series. I'll run rocket. I'll run some other things and try to get them to pull that strong safety up. And then I might think about getting back to this. All the routes that we run beyond that, we do mirrored routes. We keep things really simple. And slant wheel is a great way to get some conflict with that cornerback. And if they haven't really worked on, pattern reading or exchanges, those halfbacks are often going to be open on that sideline route because there often aren't outside linebackers that can cover that route very easily. And then streak out, similar, you're going to run either an arrow or a quick out and put, get a conflict out the flat there. And kind of spread the field out, and you're going to have some good options to get those receivers in the game with some downfield routes. Here, I'm going to answer something in the chat here. Somebody, I think, it was Jim, asked if I have cut-ups. Yeah, if you join late, the cut-ups are tough to show during the live clinic, but you're going to get an email about 30 minutes after the clinic's over with links to videos with clips with also some voiceover. So more than just the clips, you'll see me doing some kind of markup and doing my own John Madden Gruden thing and talking about how the plays went. And I'm not just showing you the good plays. In fact, I'm showing you probably more plays where things didn't go well, and you'll get that after the clinic. 1 second. Take a drink here real quick. All right. So you may be thinking, can I run pistol and under center? And I think both can make a lot of sense. That's what I'm going to do this coming season. Our base wing T is under center, and for some of the reasons I mentioned before, that's really where I like to start. But I like mid-season to late season being able to give a different look to teams we're facing. Put a little more, eat some more practice time for the defense. But I'm going to keep both because first, I'm probably not getting the same amount of practice time with both, my backup centers and backup quarterbacks. And so even the exchange might be a little more difficult if they haven't had the same reps. I still like under center for short yardage. It lets me do some other things, with either a wedge play, quarterback sneak. We run a fullback wedge sometimes where, we can do some things that I think are just a little more difficult under, the pistol or shotgun. And as I've kind of, beat a dead horse with this, but I think the Buck series is just a better series when run under center. And Buck series, honestly, is going to be something we're going to feature this coming season. Now, a great thing about mixing the two is, let's talk about the belly series again. You kind of get a 2-for-1 if you get the belly series, and this is the weak side belly ISO play, the belly sweep, the belly keep pass. It's basically a free play when you're running from the pistol. The only thing that really changes is the quarterback footwork. It's just a little bit different because we have the quarterback in that belly play. He immediately, when he pivots out, he's getting to depth to get that ball to the fullback deep in the backfield. And when you're in pistol, he's already at a really good depth. So there's just a slight change in footwork that you need to worry about. But your offensive line, it's no different. And like I said before, when you're running spread, you can run it equally to both sides. And if you want to be even more advanced, if you're seeing some defenses that are leaving a bubble, and maybe you're seeing an even front, over or under defense, and you want to attack a bubble with that ISO, you could even make that a pre-snap call for the quarterback. Might be a little more advanced for youth, but I know a lot of teams that like to do a pre-snap call for the trap play and for that belly play. And with that quarterback in the pistol formation, I think he can make an even better read on that. All right, so I'm going to answer questions in just a minute. So if anything else has come up during this clinic, go ahead and ask away. And I can probably stay on till about 10 after. I'm selling my house, and someone is coming to look at it in about 40 minutes. So I actually do, unlike most other times, I do have a hard stop. So I can stay till about 10 after. So I'll even stay on and answer questions about other things related to the wing tee and practicing or O-line stuff, whatever you want that comes up. So ask away. I do want to make a quick pitch here. I just released a companion book to my wing tee for youth football book, and it's the pistol wing tee for youth football. Just came out this week. There will be a link to this in the email that comes out. This book is almost a standalone book. I think it's better with my base book, and I've got a really good deal on the bundle if you want to get all of it together. But if you have pretty good experience with the wing tee and the base drills that you would run for that, and you're just looking for a way to mix in pistol concepts, this book is going to be really good for you. Everything I've talked about here is there. You've got a few more series, a lot more cut-ups. And so there's my pitch. It's a little shorter than my last book, which is about 230 pages plus. This one's about 70 pages, but I'm charging a lot less for this one too. So check that out if you're interested. If you have any questions about it, you've been getting some emails from me, just feel free to reply to that, and I'll answer any questions you might have. It's available as a PDF, or if you've got an iPad and you'd like to have all the videos offline, you can just go to the iTunes bookstore and you can find it there as well. All right, got a few questions to answer here, and let me just go back to my list. And there's just some good comments here as well that I'll probably jump in on. All right, so first question is, do you think this works with 9-year-olds? Well, I think, yeah, I don't know why it wouldn't. I don't have firsthand experience running pistol wing tee with 9-year-olds. I can tell you that wing tee itself is a perfect offense for 9-year-olds. And I did coach that. And we've got coaches here in Sherwood and Lincoln, where I'm getting ready to coach downtown in Portland, where we've got kids, all the way down to kind of 7 and 8-year-olds running wing tee, and it's a great offense for those ages. I would say, given all the success that single wing coaches have at the young grade levels, I don't know why you wouldn't be able to run pistol wing tee at that level as well, because there's I think a lot of sarcastic single wing or shotgun or single wing coaches would look at pistol or shotgun wing tee and say you're just running an unbalanced or a balanced single wing offense at that point. So, I don't see why you couldn't make it work. But do your homework and be ready to commit to it. Coach G1 asked, do we tunnel screen? And I have not. I'd written a note to mention that when I was on my my slow screen page, to say that, yeah, maybe that could make sense to do some tunnel screen work as well. So I think pretty much any kind of screen game you want to incorporate, those are pretty well understood plays, and they're not wing tee specific. And I think you can make just about anything work. It does take practice time though. So just, make sure you're prepared to invest and don't do too much at once. I think bang for the buck, that quick screen is really easy to install. Anything that requires, some delay and counting, we've run the wraparound draw, which has some delay and timing, and that's kind of the one trick play we ran for many years, and we got really good at it. And if you watch Sherwood High School, you'll see that Sherwood High School is really good at it and runs it. They'll run it just about every game. So make sure you're willing to invest. Oh, and got a coach from Mexico on talking about running it last year. So I was just down in Mexico. I took my wife to Cancun for our 25th anniversary, and it was our first trip there, and we had a ball. And we actually saw a football field set up there, so I can see that American football is getting some traction there. So any other questions, go ahead and ask away. I'm gonna stick around here for a while. So thank you, everybody who came. I appreciate you spending time with me tonight. And hopefully you'll sign up for my newsletter too. I try not to bother people too much. You get an email about every 2 weeks. That's where I announce web clinics like this. So think about joining the newsletter as well. All right, here's another question. Do you feel the pistol gives you better angles over offsetting the running back to a side? So that's basically a question about, do you want to go pistol or what most coaches would just call a straight shotgun wing tee? And I think either can work. I would say for me, pistol made sense because we didn't really want to change the core nature of what we were doing as a team, and pistol was closer. And it kept the same running backs in the backfield, and it was just less of a change. And when we were running both, it was a nice way to mix in. There's a lot of coaches who love running just a pure shotgun, where they basically move that full back to an offset back, more in that halfback position aside the quarterback, and they're going to usually move that other halfback to a slot position. And that opens up things in the running game. I think it does limit some aspects of your run game, but you can still be really successful with it. So it's just really deciding what you want to do. Another coach asked, what line splits have you found to work best with 11 to 13? Yeah, this is counterintuitive. And sometimes I say whatever works. This is a case where I'm going to say, don't mess with the wing tee. double wing coaches, like it sounds like, Coach, that's what your background is, maybe double wing or flex bone, or maybe you're running a lot of option, run narrower splits, and you could do great things with that. Wing T, there are two things you need to do. One is you need to back up your line as far off the line of scrimmage as you can. So this is your, your guard through tight end. Get them as deep as legal, and maybe even a little deeper. See if you can get it called in a game, and then inch them up a little bit. And that means, their helmets on the hip of the center, far off the line. And then stick to splits for 11 to 13-year-olds, 2-foot splits, just like you would do at the high school. With the younger kids, I can tolerate 1.5-foot splits, but I would stick to 2-foot splits. The depth off the line compensates for the wider splits, and they're still going to have the angles they need to even stop, like you said, a stud player ripping through the line. You also need to teach effective gap blocking, and I go into this a lot in my base book, techniques to teach gap down and the cover block technique, so that you can prepare your line to deal with a penetrating player like that, so that you can stop that. The answer to that, in interior penetration is to get better, at your gap blocking. And when you start seeing things like AA gap blitzes, you got to have something in your playbook that you can go to that's going to make them pay the price for doing that. And that might be running, some power off tackle, where you're going to keep your guards home, and you're going to, run jet motion with your wing back to kick out on a power play. It could be they're going to run rocket sweep and run it wide. But no, don't give up on those splits. Another coach asks, are the videos in the PDF option included in the bundle? Yes. The way that I've solved the whole video thing is if you buy the iBook, the videos are embedded in the book itself. That's just kind of the way iBooks work, and it's really handy. If you have the PDF, every video has a link that you click through, and it gets you to a YouTube video that's the same as what's in the book. And that you also have that if you've got the iBook version as well. So they're all there either way. And another coach asks, is the playbook available for download? Yes, it's available for sale and download, and I only do an electronic book version. So you've got a link in the, and I'll put it back up quickly in the so you can see it in the presentation. But you'll get if you're on this clinic, you'll get an email from me shortly with a link to it. And I'll hang out here for a little bit to see if any more questions. Yeah, are you scheduling another online session this summer? I probably should. I'll do something. I haven't decided what, and I'll actually take suggestions here. My life's a little crazy right now. I'm actually, like I said, I'm selling my house. I spend the summer with my wife in Western New York. I've got another business I'm starting and traveling for that, and I'm coaching football again this year, where I took a year off last year. So, but I love doing this, and it actually doesn't take me that long to prep when I talk about something that I know. So I'll do something. I'll do at least one more clinic. And if you've got ideas, share them here, or you've got my email, shoot me some ideas in email. I don't think I've ever covered the way we do jet sweep in the jet series, so I might do a clinic focused on that. So Coach Rick's asked, can you come out of belly under center and move into pistol without any issues? Yeah, I think I understand the question is, can you run kind of the belly play and run it from pistol with the same benefit? And I think it's a great play to run out of pistol because you basically, you need to change the backfield footwork just a little bit. But you basically have the same mindset, which is I want to deliver that handoff to the fullback pretty deep in the backfield. And so you're really in a good position to do that, because very often the running lane for that fullback on the belly play isn't going to be right at the point of attack. He's going to end up cutting back over center. And so he gets a lot of visibility, kind of like you would on a read option play. So yeah, I love running belly out of pistol. And I've got a lot of cut ups in the book showing the belly series, including belly sweep and and I talk about the belly pass as well. Motions with the pistol wing T. Yeah, well, obviously rocket sweep, you've got rocket motion with that. And I could have just as easily chosen jet sweep to be my featured series with pistol. So it just looks a little bit different. Instead of a reverse pivot from that quarterback where he gets his back almost right to the line of scrimmage to hand off the jet sweep. If you're in pistol with the jet, you're basically going to be giving an inside handoff. And I've posted this before, but go back and watch when Ohio State destroyed, Oregon in the championship game a few years ago, and just watch that. Watch them running that fake jet, and then the counter play off that to I think Zeke, and you'll see an example of some things you can do that are very wing T like with that jet motion and playing with defenses. So yeah, jet's great. If you're going to run buck series out of pistol, you might also want to do 3-step motion to get that wing back up into a halfback slot. All right, I'm going to wind it down, folks. Thanks, everyone. I'm sorry if I didn't get to every question, but I got to disconnect and clean up and get out of my house. So until next time, take care, and I'll see you on the other side.